The Louisiana heat on that Tuesday afternoon was a weight that settled deep into the bones, pressing against the cracked pavement and slow dancing through the hanging Spanish moss like an unwelcome guest. In the sleepy corner of Cypress Hollow, the air itself felt sluggish, carrying with it the scent of sun-baked asphalt and honeysuckle. Officer Seth Montclair sat behind the wheel of his patrol car, the engine idling softly. His mind as slow-moving as the atmosphere around him. These quiet patrol shifts in the outer reaches of Magnolia County gave him little excitement. But a different sort of satisfaction had long taken root in his heart, one not tethered to justice but to control. Montclair had always harbored an unspoken resentment, a belief that some people needed reminders of their place. His badge wasn't just an emblem of duty, it was a weapon of hierarchy. And on days like this, when the silence stretched too far and too long, he found himself searching for a reason, for a spark, for someone. His eyes swept over the gently curving stretch of Meadow Ridge Lane when he spotted her. A black woman, walking alone. She wasn't rushing, nor dawdling. She carried herself with a quiet, grace-measured steps, shoulders relaxed, head held high. Her sundress moved softly in the breeze, and a single gold anklet shimmered at her bare ankle. It wasn't the jewelry that made Seth's grip tighten around the steering wheel, it was the air about her. A stillness, a certainty, an unspoken defiance. It grated against every assumption he held of who walked where and how. He pulled the cruiser to the curb with a sharpness that broke the calm. The woman halted mid-step, her brow arching ever so slightly as the tinted window rolled down. Seth leaned toward it, adjusting the brim of his hat in a way meant to signal authority. "Ma'am," he said. His voice stretched into a syrupy southern drawl, the kind used to disarm or unsettle. "Gonna need a word with you." The woman, Dr. Amara Allison, turned to face him fully. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held a depth that gave Seth pause. There was no panic, no confusion, just measured alertness. She spoke with the clarity of someone accustomed to being misunderstood. "Is there a problem, officer? I was under the impression that walking in one's own neighborhood wasn't a crime." Her voice was low and warm, rich with education and unbothered elegance. It wasn't confrontational, but it pushed back against the trap Seth had already begun to weave. His lips twitched into a tight, almost smile. "Just a couple questions. We've had some, reports. Folks acting suspiciously in the area." He let the sentence hang, baiting her with ambiguity. She tilted her head slightly. "Suspicious how? Exactly?" Seth's eyes flicked to her purse. "You know how it is. Some people just don't quite fit the usual picture. Can make others uneasy." "I've lived on this street for over 7 years," Amara said evenly. "I believe I fit the picture quite well." There it was again, that calm refusal to shrink. It unsettled Seth more than outright defiance would have. He chuckled, though it lacked humor. "That's so? Where you headed this fine afternoon?" "I'm returning from a board meeting at the Magnolia County Historical Conservancy," she said. "I serve as their treasurer." Seth's eyebrows lifted. "Historical Society? Huh? Don't suppose they handed out any artifacts at that meeting?" The insinuation hung in the air like the cloying scent of overripe fruit. Amara's eyes narrowed just a fraction. "My purse contains only my personal belongings. You have no grounds to search or detain me." But Montclair was no longer listening to reason. He was spiraling. His pride had been pricked by her poise, and it needed soothing the only way he knew. "You match a description." He lied. "Petty theft at a gas station on Commerce Street. We're going to need to sort this out at the station." "And what description is that?" she asked, her tone sharpening. "A black woman walking alone? That's not probable cause. That's profiling." "The cause is I said so." The false civility in his voice cracked. He yanked the cruiser door open and stepped toward her, his hand hovering close to his weapon. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." Amara didn't move. "You're violating my rights. Don't make this harder than it has to be," he warned. Then he grabbed her arm, tighter than necessary, and forced the cold steel of handcuffs onto her wrists. The echo of the click rang out, startling birds from nearby trees. She did not scream. She did not cry. She looked directly at him as he pushed her toward the car. And in that moment, everything changed. A dark sedan screeched to a halt behind the cruiser. Its door flew open, and out stepped a man whose presence seemed to still the air itself. He was tall, with broad shoulders and sharp, storm gray eyes. His uniform bore the stars of command. Chief Langston Thorne of the Magnolia County Police Department. The man was Amara's husband, Montclair. Thorne's voice boomed. It wasn't loud, but it thundered all the same. Seth froze. He turned, the color draining from his face. Chief Sarai didn't realize. What are you doing? Thorne asked, his voice a dangerous whisper now. What in God's name do you think you're doing? Tu was conducting a field interview. She matched a vague suspect description. Thorne looked at his wife, handcuffed and furious. Her wrist reddened. His expression darkened. A field interview? He echoed, voice thick with contempt. Of a woman walking home in broad daylight? A woman you couldn't even identify correctly? A woman who is me wife? Montclair's lips moved, but no words came. The silence was thick, heavy with the presence of justice arriving far too late, but at last undeniably. Remove the cuffs, Thorne commanded. Seth's fingers trembled as he fumbled for the key. The moment the cuffs clicked open, Amara stepped back beside her husband without a word. Chin held high. Thorne didn't look at her, knew her strength. His fury remained fixed on Montclair. You looked at her, Thorne said, and you didn't see a citizen. You didn't see a neighbor. You didn't even see a woman. You saw a problem to solve, a threat to neutralize. Chief, I didn't know. You didn't care to know. Thorne's voice was cold steel. You acted on instinct, not law, on bias, not training, and you violated every standard of conduct we are sworn to uphold. From nearby porches and windows, neighbors had begun to watch. Whispers spread like brush fire. Thorne reached out his hand. Badge. Sir. Now. With shaking hands, Montclair removed his badge and placed it in Thorne's outstretched palm. It landed there like a gavel striking wood. Effective immediately, Thorne said, you are relieved of duty. There will be an internal investigation. But let me be clear, your career in this department ends today. Gasps rose from the growing crowd. Seth stood alone now, sweat clinging to his neck. The heat no longer sluggish but smothering. The authority he wielded so carelessly had slipped from his fingers in a matter of minutes. All that remained was the echo of his failure, witnessed by the very community he once claimed to serve. Amara turned to him one last time, her voice quiet but resolute. You didn't just try to humiliate a black woman today. You tried to erase her dignity, her intelligence, her belonging, and you failed. As she walked away beside her husband, Seth Montclair remained on that sidewalk, stripped of power, facing a truth he had never allowed himself to consider. Not everyone would forget what happened that afternoon on Meadow Ridge Lane, and neither would justice.